I think they know. I think John's been in touch, and I think they should be aware of the fact that we are acting as interim managers at this point.
Any other questions? Moving on to ordinance.
I think that we would like council to, if you're comfortable with the scope of work, and again, John reviewed this with the county, made the changes that the county requested for their funding opportunity. He's also had DCET take a look at it. So the scope of work we're pretty comfortable with, and if council's comfortable with it and wants to approve the scope, we can begin to circulate it. It'll be at least 30 days before you can approve it anyway. And again, Ingram is looking at the same scope this evening.
Are they approving it this evening?
I don't think he needs it, I don't really know. I mean, you can probably wait until the 27th.
Can I have a couple of weeks to look at it? Okay, so maybe we can do that on the...
27th, okay.
So under ordinance, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No.
Okay, so just as a reminder, regarding the stop signs and parking, the parking prohibited ordinance on Steuben, it has been advertised and the streets will be posted before it goes into adoption. So I just wanted to remind you about that. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Not to that item, but I was going to remind council that we do have 3 RFPs now that we will be looking at over the next several weeks. The first one is the 17th for the solicitor position. The next one, I think, is October 22nd, which is the garbage and recycling bids that you'll have an opportunity to review. And then, again, the one that you just approved this evening for the auditor, which is November 7th. So, lots of work.
Can you talk to the process of the bid opening for the public?
Oh, yes, they are opened here at the Borough Building in this room on those dates. And we will compile the bids, tabulate them, make them available. The council will review them and then be able to make a decision, later in the month at the regular council meetings.
And everyone's invited that is submitted.
Well, the solicitor one is a professional service, so I'm not sure that that's a public bid opening. But definitely the garbage and recycling is a public bid opening. And the RFP for auditing, again, is professional services. And again, there may be some interviews with the solicitor and with the auditor that typically with professional services, we would recommend that you do interviews at that point, once you see who's interested in what, what you get in terms of applications and resumes. You'll probably want us to set up some interviews with committees or with the whole council.
Thank you. And I'd just like to remind everyone, as you know, we have a vacant spot on council. So we'd like to remind any qualified residents interested in filling that vacant council seat to do so by October 20th. We will be taking action on October 27th. And a qualified resident is someone who is a resident, is over 18 or over, and has been living in the borough for at least a year. So at this time, we will take citizens' comments, starting with, and I'm sorry, I can never pronounce your last name,
That's okay. Richnowski, John.
Mr. Richnowski. Please
Okay.
make sure that you state your name and address, and keep your comments limited to 3 minutes.
My name is John Rishnowski. I live at 225 Waterford Drive in Robinson Township. My building is here at 92 Noble Avenue. Other than this building, of course, I own other properties, and those particular properties are not in the situation of mine is here at the studio. First of all, I was pleased to hear there is some action being taken on the building, the demolition. My first question is, who owns the property once the demolition is taken care of?
I don't think there's anyone here that could answer that. That's something that the borough interim manager would have to answer,
Or the solicitor, it's a
or
solicitor.
the solicitor, and they're not here.
Right. Because if it's possible, I'd like to purchase that piece of property and make it a green space, because I don't think there's anybody else going to be building anything between my property and the pizza place. Okay? The other thing is, there's not only 2 vehicles, there's 3 vehicles. There's another vehicle parked in between the buildings of mine in Calabrese Printing. There's another vehicle in there, it's the registration is expired, and also the plates. Other than the building being destroyed, as I said, I'm glad to hear there's something being taken care of on this. The back end of the building, the weeds have grown so high that they're becoming small trees, all right? I don't know whose responsibility that is while this building is in limbo. If the council could recommend someone, or our services, the Crafton Borough Services, could go back and cut those weeds down, because I do have tenants that live above the building, and people could be very well just hiding in those bushes back there. There are a lot of teenagers back there now. They're just using that place to party, and on several occasions, my tenant told me that they're just laying back here, sitting on that vehicle. I think it's a pickup truck or something back there between my buildings. Other than being, I was going to comment being a disgrace on Noble Avenue, it's just an eyesore, it has to be taken care of. And as I said, I'd like to make that a green space. I'd like to purchase a property after this demo does take place, if it does take place. If not, I'll be back next month. I'm sure it won't be taken by then. And you said the cars are supposed to be taken care of this week?
They were supposed to be removed at 9:15. John has met with them and they've agreed to have them moved this week.
You met with the Calabrases?
Yes. Well, he talked to him on the phone today.
And if they don't, what is our course of action?
That was my next question.
Would you recommend some type of formal letter indicating that regarding that property, if and when the building comes down, his interest?
Yes, but I think what the solicitor would say to you, that even if the building is demolished, the property still remains owned by whoever the owner is, so that it doesn't mean that the borough would then have any control or ownership of that property.
When the building comes
I'm not
down,
an attorney.
are they gonna reclaim that space and make it look presentable, or are they just gonna leave bricks laying around?
I mean, that's the concern, and obviously we would want to make sure that the property was at least secured, cleaned, cleared of debris. But my point is that I'm not sure, I think what the solicitor would tell you is that the borough still doesn't have control. What they would do is demolish and then lien that property, lien the cost associated with the demolition against the property. It doesn't mean that the borough has that property, controls that property, can sell that property, or do anything with it, so,
Perhaps Mr. Calabrese would sell it.
yes.
I checked with the city, I went downtown, there's $183,000 worth of liens against the
And that's
building now.
typically-
And you'd have to buy them, you have to purchase those liens and purchase them.
Unless those
And who's
liens.
paying for the demolition? Crafton? Oh, boy.
The manager would have to answer that, but your 3 minutes are up.
Thanks, Rick. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any additional citizens' comments? Perhaps you didn't sign up on the sheet. No? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.